Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex, my co-host here, Anthony Rivardos, and more OTAs today. Some news coming out about Thibodeaux's injury, some interesting injuries coming along. Adoree Jackson, Aaron Robinson. I think Adoree's actually healthy, which is a good thing, but Aaron Robinson, nonetheless, is in a red jersey on the side, as well as Andrew Thomas. Josh Thibodeaux has been getting all the first-team reps at left tackle. So a little bit of an interesting thing going on here with the ones. Some new fresh faces getting some reps. But there are some really good takeaways from today's practice, especially a quote from Mark Lewinsky. Every time I say Mark Lewinsky, I think Monica Lewinsky, and it's really throwing me off. But a really good quote from Mark Lewinsky on Evan Neal and how dominant he's looked and how strong he is. So definitely a good sign there and some really positive stuff coming out from them. But Anthony, before we dive into the latest news for today, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, and an interesting day of OTAs, some injury takeaways, as you mentioned, some good quotes and everything. And we also had a few stars in the building, some retired alumni of the New York Giants. If you take a look, there was Joe Shane hanging out with Michael Strahan, Brian Dable hanging out with him too. So that's always cool to see. We know that Michael Strahan said that he's going to be really involved in some mentoring programs with some of the players. So love to see him there at practice, at an OTA practice day. Probably giving some coaching tips on the sideline, probably just talking to some guys, maybe checking in on Thibodeaux, telling him how to rehab and get back to full health. And Thibodeaux was running sprints today. He's back to running. I know he's got that lower body injury that's kind of nagging him and bothering him a little bit, but he's starting to progress towards healthy status again. And I think that's the case for a few of these players. I know a couple players are now wearing red shirts and they weren't previously, but I mean, it's a long off season. Hopefully none of these injuries lag and nag all the way through till training camp. Hopefully everybody gets healthy by then, but seems like we got a lot of time till then. It's the end of July, the training camp begins. So hopefully these guys get healthy for that.
Absolutely. And, Brian Dable did go as far as to kind of say that he doesn't know if Thibodeaux specifically will be available for training camp. But then again, he was pretty vague with everybody who's wearing a red jersey. He's been really, really secret and kind of keeping things behind closed doors when it comes to the injuries. And that's totally fine. Maybe he just wants to give them some extra rest. Maybe Thibodeaux is ahead of the group in terms of understanding the playbook and what they're trying to do here. So I don't think it's a big deal at all, really, for now. I think that by the consensus of beat writers, the injury isn't serious, right? He got rolled up on his leg maybe 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago during practice. He's been wearing a red jersey. He's walking around. He's doing individual stuff on the side. So it doesn't look like he's in a ton of pain. But nonetheless, your 5th overall pick, take it easy. You don't want to be testing your luck when it comes to Thibodeaux before training camp even gets started. So I kind of get the sense that they're just taking it easy with him and trying to, avoid any potential problems down the road. So Anthony, do you think that's the right approach? Just keeping him kind of on the side. I know there's some verbiage and stuff that, he tries to avoid because, that you can get in trouble with the league if by divulging too much information about things. I don't know exactly the rules for OTAs and how those things kind of proceed, but it seems like he's just kind of being vague on all the injuries in general, not just Kayvon. So I'm not too concerned about it at this point.
I'm not too concerned either. And yeah, I do think that's the right approach. I think that's a perfect approach. You take it slow and you take it easy, especially with your star players. There's no need to rush them back. As I said, it's a long offseason, a long summer. Training camp isn't until the end of July. Why rush him back for OTAs? There's really no point in rushing him back, risking a re-injury or worsening the injury that he already has when you can just let him chill, run some sprints on the sideline, work his way back slowly, and get ready to be full speed at training camp and hopefully full speed for the preseason and, of course, the regular season. So for me, absolutely take your time with Thibodeaux and anybody else that might be dealing with any type of injuries, especially if there's some star players. I know Andrew Thomas is also dealing with some sort of injury and he hasn't been taking the first team reps. Take your time with Andrew Thomas, please. I don't want to see him rush onto the field too soon and get injured, and then we're left scrambling at the left tackle position once the regular season rolls around. I know Joshua Thibodeaux is taking reps at first team left tackle right now, and I think that's really interesting because we've talked about his versatility. He's got the ability to play left guard, and we think that he could end up starting there this season, and he's got the ability to play left tackle if he needs to in a pinch. So Thibodeaux provides a lot of value to the Giants in that regard, but again, we don't want to see this rookie 3rd-round guard starting at left tackle in week 1. So with Andrew Thomas especially, the Giants need to take their time and let him heal fully before they get him back on the field.
Yeah, the injury to Andrew Thomas is a little bit more concerning to me because people have thrown this word around, and it's the scariest word when it comes to injuries for players: chronic. People have thrown around the word chronic with Andrew Thomas's ankle. He's still limping from that, right? He had some postseason surgery cleanup, but that was months ago, right? And he's still limping. He's already played through 2 consecutive seasons with a bum ankle. I don't know if it's chronic. I'm not a doctor, obviously. This is just the word I've heard people say, and I'm hoping to God that is not true. The expectations that he will be ready for training camp or he will be ready for the regular season. But if there, like you said, if there's anybody to keep on the low, keep him just kind of doing his thing, it is Andrew Thomas. He knows the system. He can, he will adjust just fine. He looked great last year. Don't push him into any situations where he's going to get injured again or get hurt. Because ultimately, like that is exactly what you don't want. And Ezeudu playing left tackle with the ones right now is a great thing, in my opinion. A lot of times last year for UNC, he would transition mid drive to left tackle, depending on the matchup. Left tackle, back to left guard. He would go back and forth. Really quick feet. I think that getting him those reps now with Bobby Johnson is essential. And I think that is ultimately a really, really good thing for him and the experience, just in case they do need to kick him out to a left tackle if Andrew Thomas isn't available. And I think that's what they were thinking of maybe when they actually drafted him. Like, worst case, we could put him at left tackle and be just fine. And we have Shane Lemieux. We have Max Garcia who can hold down the left guard position. So hopefully that wasn't the main reason they got him, but it definitely doesn't hurt to have a guy who can play multiple positions and has that versatility to supplement some injuries. But another little, thing here with Daniel Jones, they were really going up tempo today at practice. They've been going downfield, targeting guys like Juandale Robinson, Darius Slayton. Darius Slayton dropped 2 passes today. One of them a deep touchdown from Daniel Jones. It would have seemed like an easy catch. Dropped another one from Tyrod Taylor. He's a guy that had an 18.6% drop rate last year with 6 drops. Darius Slayton, those drops are not going away. He is known for that, right? He has dropped so many freaking passes. I don't know what it is, concentration, weak hands, whatever it might be. He drops passes. That's always what you're going to get with him. But then again, you have the up end, the high end speed that can blow the top off a defense. And you kind of have to take that with the negatives. So, that definitely is a little bit concerning, has been since he was drafted, but, it doesn't seem like the Giants are going to get rid of him anytime soon. Brian Daboll had a lot of good things to say about Darius Slayton. But what do you think about Daniel Jones kind of getting involved in the up-tempo offense right now? Maybe that quick West Coast style. We've seen the Chiefs and Buffalo do that all the time. When they have a defense on edge, they turn off the gas, they press on the gas, no breaks, and then they're just getting the ball out quick to their playmakers, letting things go, attacking the flow and getting in rhythm with the offense. So I think ultimately, like, that is a good strategy to be following. When you have the defense on their heels, don't let them get off the field, because, you can take advantage of a tired, fatigued defense with that up-tempo offense. But the thing is, the Giants tried to do it last year when the defenses on the opposing team were completely, rested right out of the gate. They were just trying to catch them off guard, trying to do something different. But hopefully this new system can wear them down throughout the course of a game, and then you turn up that up-tempo and bam, like, you're moving and grooving. So I think that's a really good strategy to be learning right now. That way they can deploy it when the regular season does actually come around.
Absolutely. And I think that we've seen Daniel Jones have success in an up-tempo offense before. Even Jason Garrett and Pat Shurmur both tried that with him, but I wish that they did it more, because I've always felt like Daniel Jones operates really well in an up-tempo, more spread out offense. And of course, that's exactly what Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka are about to implement. There's going to be a lot more spread in this offense, and there's going to be a much quicker tempo. And I think that's really going to be huge for Daniel Jones. And there's also some great quotes from Davis Webb. I know in yesterday's episode, we talked about Davis Webb FaceTiming Patrick Mahomes with Tyrod Taylor and Daniel Jones and trying to get them used to Mike Kafka's offensive scheme, right? But there's also a great quote from Davis Webb where he's talking about Daniel Jones specifically. He referred to him as the smartest quarterback he's ever been around and said that he's got the highest ceiling of a quarterback that he's ever been around. He says he sees a super high ceiling and he really loves everything that Daniel Jones brings to the game. So that's pretty exciting, especially when we were talking yesterday about how Davis Webb is kind of transitioning into being a coach, recognizing talent and developing it. So I know, of course, he's probably just supporting his teammate, but still kind of cool to hear from this kind of coach-player perspective who's doing everything involving Daniel Jones, really being hands-on with the process, considering he's a player and the coach at this point. I think it's really cool to hear him kind of just have such high praise for Daniel Jones and really start to hype him up before the season even gets started.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's exciting to see, watch the development of Daniel Jones. This is going to be a big year for him. It's do or die for Daniel. All these playmakers that they kind of have hopefully will be healthy and they can really get going, but they do have a couple more injuries. Aaron Robinson was also seen with a red jersey on. And then, we mentioned Andrew Thomas and Kayvon Thibodeaux. So those slot guys, Darnay Holmes was not there today. And what does that do? It really gives opportunities to the others. Cordell Flotz, if you're there, you're getting the reps. I kind of like the Bobby Johnson mentality in the sense that if you are there, you're getting an opportunity. If you're available, you're getting the reps and you could potentially start. I love that, right? That is ultimately what it comes down to at the end of the day. If you're available, you're getting the reps, you're getting better, you're learning the system. Cordell Flott has made a couple nice plays early in camp. Dane Belton got some snaps with the one at strong safety in place of Julian Love. So Dane Belton, hard-hitting safety, really, really good kind of in the short portions of the field there. I'm excited to see he got burned by Juandale downfield a couple times last year when they played Kentucky. But I do think he could make a big impact on this team, especially around the line of scrimmage in the short portions, especially if they're playing some hybrid zone coverage schemes. Dane Belton's a guy that I would be really, really watching if I were you to potentially steal some reps from Julian Love. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Dane Belton's a super exciting prospect that the Giants landed in the middle rounds, and I'm happy to see him getting some first team reps. But the other player that you just mentioned, Juandale Robinson, I want to discuss him briefly because you mentioned earlier Darius Slayton, the drops are not going away. Okay, sure. I mean, he had a great highlight catch on day 7 of OTAs, and I know that was in the Giants article. But you're right. The drops aren't going away. He had a lot of them last season, but a player who's been really popping off in pretty much every single practice of OTAs on day 7 when Darius Slayton made that great catch down the sideline. Guess who had 2 touchdown receptions that day? Juandale Robinson. Juandale Robinson has been showing up to play in each and every single practice. Pretty much every time the Giants on Giants.com post an article like main takeaways from OTAs, Juandale Robinson is being mentioned in every single article with some sort of highlight. Either he's catching a touchdown pass or he's making some highlight catch that's going, semi-viral on TikTok and Twitter, right? He's doing a whole lot out there, and he's already developing a very serious connection with Daniel Jones. I know that was my main talking point when we did that episode ranking the playmakers for Darius Slayton, right? He's already got a great connection with Daniel Jones. Those two have great chemistry, but it seems like Daniel Jones is very quickly developing a solid chemistry with Juandale Robinson, which could lead to a lot of reps for Juandale and a much larger role in the offense than we initially expected.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had Slayton in the last spot for me in terms of playmakers for the Giants, mainly because I don't trust his hands, and I don't think he's a great route runner. I think he's a good kind of like up and go kind of guy. He's a good straight line runner, but he doesn't like flash insane route running capabilities. He never has, and he drops passes, especially when he's on those comeback routes. When that ball's coming in there fast, those fast balls, he can't catch them all the time. So he can't catch the freaking deep passes either when they're floating into his hands. So I think that Juandale and you, like you mentioned, 2 touchdowns in day 7. You want to know what stood out to me about those 2 touchdowns? This is my favorite part. They were both in the red zone. One of them was on a 4th down drill. So you're watching a player who we saw an insane highlight from him a couple days ago, catching that deep ball over Aaron Robinson. Now you're hearing that he's dominating in the red zone portion of the field where the Giants have been abysmal. It's like watching like a dead cat on the floor. It's like, that's how bad our offense has been. I can't stand to watch it anymore. I can't stand to watch Kyle Rudolph drag his feet into the end zone and stand there and not move. I can't wait. I can't wait to never see Evan Ingram drop a pass anymore. I can't wait to see the scheme that rolls out Daniel Jones so far to the right. He's already on the sideline trying to throw it into the freaking end zone. I can't wait to watch an actual team, an actual offense, get the ball into the playmakers' hands and let them work. Juandale looking good in the red zone so far. That is all we can ask. And that is all that I've hoped to see and hear from this team through OTAs. Of course, do it on the football field because you want to see it in live action and not in practice. But at least we're trending in the right direction. We're hearing the right things from these players, which I think is super, super beneficial and very positively driven. But I think that is like the main takeaways from today's practice. Juandale definitely standing out. A lot of people are saying this. This is no one's saying he's doing bad. Everyone's saying he's doing phenomenal. Cordell Flott, I've seen a couple of good things with. I've seen, Dane Belton's getting some reps with the one. Josh Azudu, I haven't heard anything bad about him. The thing about offensive line is that, like, when you don't hear anything about them, they're doing well, right? Like, that's the thing. I heard, there was one thing I did hear. I heard Ellerson Smith was crushing the Giants' backup offensive line. So that's a good sign for the Giants. Ellerson Smith, mid-round pick from last year. He was really skinny, put on a little bit more size, was injured. I think he had a hamstring injury or something like that, groin. I think it was something lower body. Pretty much all of last season did not make much of an impact, but now he's coming back and he's really, really showcasing what he can do against those backups. Can be a really good rotational guy, plugging in for Thibodeaux, plugging in for Azeez Ojulari, and just making an impact when called upon. That's all we can hope for from Ellerson Smith, and I hope he does take that role and runs with it ultimately. But that kind of wraps up this video, talking about the main takeaways of the Giants OTAs today. And, injury update on Kayvon Thibodeaux, of course. Hopefully he is ready to go for training camp. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe as always below. And we will catch you guys on the next one.